This is Fountain
Every
Street
week I find
Church.
it hard to find the best ones, but somehow, like I said, you'll hear what I'm trying to say even when the words
Here,
aren't right.
we strive to free the mind, grow the soul, and change the world. Here, there is freedom to doubt and freedom to believe. Here, you can find a house of prayer for all people.
The swallow up Jonah.
Welcome to Fountain Street Church. Join us on the journey.
I awakened the other day with a sense of wonder and gratitude, which is unusual for me. I'm not a morning person. I have 2 houses, I thought. And instead of being stressed about how to make 2 mortgage payments, instead of being worried about upkeep and safety, instead of looking at my calendar to see how I could spend adequate time in both places, I felt a sense of hope and curiosity. I have 2 houses. How shall I live in them both? Now, they're not physical houses. I'm not a cottage person, and I'm not a snowbird. But I've recently begun re-examining and exploring the Jewish roots on my mother's side of the family. Her grandparents, my great-grandparents, immigrated from Russia in the late 1800s. They were semi-observant Jews from family recollection, and then they quickly and quietly assimilated into turn-of-the-century America, shedding much of their Jewish identity and practice, likely in an effort to blend in. So much so that they sent my mother and her older brother not to Hebrew school, but instead to a Presbyterian church, which was the faith with which I was raised, and where she met my father in youth group. Watch out. In the past few weeks now, prompted by who knows what, a visit perhaps with my mother's uncle over the summer, the discovery of a spiritual memoir written by a Jewish friend of mine, these things and others came together and somehow made it such that I have now begun attending morning prayers at the local Chabad house, an Orthodox branch of Judaism. My Jewish friends have said to me, "You're jumping right in there, aren't you?" The rabbis there have warmly welcomed me, included me in their rituals, patiently taught me the prayers in Hebrew and how to use various worship implements. And this week, they invited me to join them in their sukkah. I hope to be able to join them later today as the Feast of Sukkot, the festival commemorating both the harvest and the years of wandering in the desert, draws to a close. I have 2 houses. Christianity, with which I was raised, and Judaism, which is in my genes and is my heart's longing. Religion provides us with shelter. Solid walls, a foundation, a place to weather storms, to take in nourishment. And it provides us with windows, too, through which to see the world. And those windows shape and color and frame our vision, our hearing, and the basic understanding of what it means to be alive and what our tasks are in living. For example, my Christian upbringing framed the notion of prayer first as supplication, a childlike, penitent approach to an almighty force to which I should humbly apologize and ask forgiveness and blessing. As an adult now, I've been exposed to a broader understanding of prayer from a Christian perspective, that prayer can be centering, not just asking. And a Jewish friend recently enlightened me as to a Jewish framing of prayer, seen through a different window from a different house. He writes, prayer in the English comes from Sanskrit meaning pleading. In Greek thought, humans are imperfect and must strive for perfection, and many philosophers tried to figure out how imperfect man could reach perfection. Philo, a Hellenistic Jew from Alexandria, taught about logos, the word, helping us to reach a perfect God. And in the Gospels, logos became flesh, sheltered flesh, and lived among us and was seen in the person of Jesus. Throw in Paul, and then original sin proposed by Augustine, and we have man wondering how to communicate with a perfect God. So in Christianity, he says they pray, plead as an unworthy person. They bow the head and fold the hands in supplication. But he continues, there is no word like that in Hebrew. The word that gets translated as prayer is tefillah. And it means to make a connection. And that is what service is about, he says. It is not about the words, it is the connection that is most important. We stand or sit up straight when we are talking because we come as a co-creator of this world. We bow several times in honor, but a quick bow, not one of servitude. The house in which I lived from my childhood, Christianity, though it had matured, had windows that framed my view of prayer so differently. And so the shelter of religion provides not only walls but also aspiration, the view to which we look, that to which we seek to become, to connect. Just as the door and the roof of all the sukkahs must be open, or at least permeable, so too our religions must provide breathing room, must provide room for the Spirit, if you will. A religion that is so tightly sealed, or a religious community that is so tightly sealed that it keeps out anything fresh and new, will certainly grow stale and stagnant and forget who it was to begin with, what it was seeking. And so will we, if we wall ourselves off, seeking airtight, perfect community, airtight religion. Like the Dead Sea, only an inlet, but nothing going out. Each of us needs shelter of something. Thinking about this service and the fact that all year long we are going to be exploring this notion of shelter, there are so many pieces to it. Each of us is on a journey of some sort, from somewhere to something. Each of us dwells in a sukkah, a temporary shelter. We might like to think of them as permanent, but they're not. Some of our shelters are grand and some modest. Perhaps we need physical shelter due to economic hardship, or emotional or psychological or spiritual shelter. But each of us needs it. And at the same time, each of us is shelter. Each of us is shelter for something or someone. Each of us shelters that which is journeying from somewhere to something. Each of us is a sukkah, a temporary booth, which will be taken down eventually, dismantled, used for something else. Whether you think of it as soul or spirit, psyche or ego, that holds us together, our integrity, we are a sukkah for that. A momentary passing glimpse in the universe. Permeable, offering, receiving, remembering where we have been, that we are reliant on the universe, and that we seek something more.